Hello and welcome back everybody. It's Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. We were married for 26 years. We married young and we have 2 adult children who are now out on their own. One day I was reading an old journal of my wife which led to a revelation. Now let's find out all about it in today's story. Also, if you like what I do, please give this video a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel.
When I was 22, I had another relationship that lasted about 5 weeks. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I was an idiot, I know it now, and I knew it then. Wife caught me, and I finally broke things off and spent the next 24 years of my life trying to make up for it. I would go through bouts of guilt and depression. I'm not asking for sympathy for that. I deserved it, and I know it. She, of course, at first was devastated, and I hurt her more than anything. I will even cry to this day about hurting her like that. The look on her face when I finally admitted to seeing the other woman is something I will take to the grave with me. For the first 5 to 7 years after the incident, we were married and still loved each other, but she obviously guarded her heart. Believe me, I understand why, and there would be days where she would cry over something that would remind her of it.
As the years went on, she didn't bring it up as much, but there wasn't a year go by where at least 2 to 3 times it came across, and she would be hurt by this. Some of it, by her own admission, was jealousy because I had been with someone else.
Again, not once did I ever say anything about it other than to try and comfort her and apologize to her. At 20 years post the affair, she said she wanted to be done with it and embarked on nights of long, and I mean long discussions, trying to deal with things that we should have probably dealt with years ago. This led to lots of painful talks. She wanted details 20 years later, and the same thing over and over of why. I know that I messed up. I know that what I did was unforgivable by most people, and I have always been so grateful that she forgave me. I honestly have done everything I can think of to be the husband she could be proud of. We have had a good life together, and now that we are on our own, we are kind of enjoying each other again like we haven't since we were both kids. This enjoyment has led us to re-exploring our youth and our dating time as teens. We have been looking at old photos of us and reading old love letters to each other. Yes, we are so old that we actually wrote letters on paper.
Both of them kept their journals as kids, and they have been sharing them with each other. The wife's writing was kind of silly, and OP's was downright embarrassing to read.
However, this has led to a discovery. She has obviously forgotten that she wrote in that book well up into our marriage and past the betrayal. I don't know if I wasn't supposed to read this, as she had given me the book to read a chapter of, but I didn't stop. I kind of skimmed over the book and found how unhappy she was right after we got married. How she really thought she made a mistake and found herself attracted to her old boss at work. Again, I don't fault her or even use that as justification for what I did. There was some heartbreaking stuff to read. I freely admit to sitting there bawling and racked with guilt again. I was feeling bad until I came to the part where I read that she acted upon her attraction to her boss, who was like 15 years older than her at the time. He was also married. In other words, one night after work, things progressed, and she had physical relations with him in his office.
Now the next part of her writing was about the shame of doing it, how bad she felt, and whether or not she should confess to OP.
Ultimately, she quit her job the next day. She told me she got laid off. I put the journal down shaking. This was 22 or so years ago. She did it within 2 months of me admitting to my relationship. I am now a conflicted mess. Part of me says I have no right to feel anything about this and that I should just move on and pretend like I never saw it. But there is a part of me that is so very hurt that she not only allowed me to suffer for years with guilt, but that she played the "I've only ever been with you" card, which made my depression even worse. I get that she felt guilty herself, and she did not believe that I could have gotten over her being with someone else. I feel betrayed, and not just in the fact that she slept with another man, who would be getting close to 60 now, but the fact that she let me wallow in this despair for over 20 years, when in fact she has done something very similar herself and has not had to endure any ramifications other than whatever she has put on herself. which I admitted probably bad if it was anything like mine. But for whatever reason, it feels uneven.
Now, here is the update.
As many of you suspected, she left it on purpose, knowing what I would find in her journal. When I got home from work, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her journal in front of her. I was not at all sure what to say or do, so I just asked her how her day was. After a few pleasantries were exchanged, she came out and asked if I had read it after she left, and I admitted that I did. She asked me if I wanted to talk about it or anything else, and I told her that I wasn't sure what the right answer was. I did not want to cast aside the really truly great time that we have recently had together. She actually seemed very confused by my response and obviously thought that I didn't actually read everything. She asked me again if I read past when we had our difficulties, and I had to make a very split-second decision to either just pretend that I had no idea what she was talking about or come clean and risk once again having to dig all of this up.
OP told the wife that he read everything. Then she started to tear up and ask him how he felt about it.
I simply told her that obviously the news of her having relations with her old employer certainly was unsettling for me, but that I didn't want to ruin what we have been building over it. She said she really needed to talk about it with me, so we spent all night talking, crying, hugging, and then ultimately falling asleep. Hey, we're old. I can't stay up all night and then go to work on no sleep like when I was younger. I emphasized from the very beginning that, no matter what we said going forward, that I wanted to be clear that I am as committed today to her and us as I was from when we were young, and that I only wanted us to get stronger together. She agreed. At first, I was apprehensive about trying to express feeling like I was upset about her not telling me, but the longer we talked, the more bold I guess I got.
Now, here are some of the highlights of their conversation.
I said that mostly my issue is that she allowed me to beat myself up for 2 decades, not only for cheating, but for mistakenly believing that I had experienced something she had not. I said that I absolutely understood her reasoning for wanting to get even with me. I even said that what I did was far worse and that by no means was I comparing the two, but I felt like hiding this from me for over 20 years and allowing me to even make statements regarding her not ever being with anyone made me feel really bad. Her reply to this was that she was deeply ashamed both for doing it and for being a hypocrite about it. She did remind me, though, that not once did she ever say anything about her not being with anyone else other than right after my cheating. She is right on that fact, she didn't. However, she never corrected me when I said it, and I said it plenty. She admitted that was wrong.
OP also had to admit that even though it happened a lifetime ago, it didn't mean anything to anyone.
My only problem was that, in reading her journal, she wrote that she was very attracted to him prior to me even cheating on her. So she didn't go have a one-time thing with some random man, she willingly had relations with someone who she had developed feelings for. Again, I know I shouldn't have said that, but she drug it out of me. She asked me if I wanted to ask her anything else. She said it was only fair because she demanded all of the details when I was confessing to everything.
OP said that he had few questions where she willingly and he believes honestly answered them.
Basically, she initiated it with him, and yes, it was simply because she felt that our marriage was a sham and she was angry. She just said that being angry at first was a turn-on, but immediately afterwards she regretted it. It didn't make her feel better. In fact, it made her feel far worse. She said she couldn't even go back in the next day to face him. She felt guilty for herself and even felt more guilty because he was married with a little kid. I asked her if she ever had any feelings for him, and she admitted that while working with him and being attracted to him, she did develop what she called a crush, but that it all died the moment it got physical. She said, as illogical as it sounded, she actually loathed him afterwards.
Now, OP had no idea if the last part was for his benefit or if it was real.
Also, she said she knew that if I thought she had been with someone else, I would view her differently, and she did not want that. I know men my age tended to view things differently when we were younger, so while I hate it, I also understand it and will not hold it against her. As I thought, in her own way, she was trying to protect me. Also, for the record, beginning of our married life was not easy. I intentionally left out this little nugget. We had our first child already, and we were living in poverty. She resented me and our marriage at the time. She confirmed this, by the way, in her journal she wrote back then, and I just gave up. I'm not excusing my actions, by the way. I'm just saying that someone said I cheated in a perfectly happy marriage, and that's not 100% accurate. No matter what, I love her. I always have loved her, and I will love her until the day I die. She's the mother of my children and the future grandmother to our soon-to-be-born grandbaby. We are only going to get better.
End of the story. Well, OP, I still think you're letting her off too easily. You're still letting her essentially blame you for the whole thing. She's been torturing you for over 20 years for your mistake, all the while knowing very well that she did the same thing to you. Man, I get it. Marriage isn't easy. But does it really mean you have to sacrifice your self-respect to be happy in a marriage? Are you sure? Is this the only time it happened? Why? Because she said so. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Your top concern is not getting her upset about your thoughts on it. Anyways, you have decided to let go of the past, and I respect your decision. Have a great life. All the best. Thank you all for listening. Please like, comment and share the video if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.